and there are some key constituencies in Nottinghamshire that will have the national focus on them as well, and one of which is Broxtowe. And you might know some of the candidates that are standing in Broxtowe. There's one who perhaps hasn't got as much publicity as some of the others, but that's about to change now. Ray Barry. Hello to you, Ray.
Hello, Alan. How are you doing?
Yeah, good. You're standing in Broxtowe then against
That's right,
Anna
yes,
Soubry is the incumbent, as it were. She was the MP for the area.
That's right,
And
yes.
Nick Palmer was the previous MP, and he's standing again. So there's that quite high-profile battle. But your party is Justice for Men and Boys. Tell us a bit more about Justice for Men and Boys then? What are you trying to achieve?
Well, it's a new party, Alan, just formed in the last year, and this is our first outing in an election. And essentially, it has as it says on the tin, it's about seeking justice for men and boys, and it does catch a lot of people to make a double take when they hear that, because whenever you hear mention of gender equality, there's always an assumption that it's women who need assistance to come up to a level playing field with men. But when you actually analyse the facts on this, I mean, we've identified 20 areas in which the state either assaults or neglects the human rights of men and boys. And we're certainly not opposing equality issues for initiatives for women. But men have been left behind in this. Boys are being failed in schools. I mean, there is a crisis in boys' education, and that feeds through into university. The proportion of men in universities is falling. It's now 44% men, 56% women.
I mean, there's some interesting points you've raised there. How would you address that, first of all? The fact that there were, as in your figures, fewer young men going to university. Would you say universities have to have 50-50?
No, I think that quotas are just the wrong way to approach this. I think what one needs to do is to get to the root of what's going on and what the problem is, and then put that problem right, rather than artificially inflate. Because whenever you do that, you get the wrong men going into university, and It should always be on merit. This is why we're opposed to quotas of all sorts.
So you want to look at the education system and why it seems that boys are getting a role. It's because, my experience years and years ago, we muck about more in class was probably the answer, but I'm sure it's a more detailed...
I mean, there's a serious point with that, Alan, because mucking about is part of how boys learn. Boys thrive academically when they have good physical activity. And one of the problems for boys' education is there isn't the same opportunity, both in terms of sporting facilities around schools, and also in terms of time created and emphasis put on the need for physical activity. And that's just one thing. The balance in teachers is another thing, the gender of teachers. And certainly over the last 30 to 40 years, there's been a great increase in the proportion of female teachers, both in primary and secondary education. And one study that was done by the London School of Economics last year found that was a significant factor in boys' behaviour in school. That when they've got female teachers, they don't perform as well as when they've got male teachers.
If I could just move on to a couple of other points, a very interesting area of discussion, though, education. But in the world of equality for women, and you say you're not discriminatory, but you want quite stringent restrictions on when an abortion can be performed. Now, many years and words have been spent trying to get to where we are with this, and many women would say this is, where we are is good. It's given us the right of control over what happens in our bodies. You want to rein back on that?
What we're trying to do is to prevent abortion being used for gender selection. And so we're looking to.
But that's illegal anyway, isn't it?
Well, it's easier to be done by the time at which abortions are carried out, and we're seeking to limit abortion on grounds of mental health risk to 13 weeks as a maximum.
Mental health risk to the mother.
That's right. I mean, mental health risks is to the mother, where the argument is that if she carries on with the pregnancy, then it would be disadvantageous to her mental health. We're seeking to restrict that to 13 weeks maximum.
And one very final point, the idea of women-only shortlists. Statistics show that half the population roughly is female, but only 148 of 650 MPs were women in the last parliament. It's a bit of a negative approach to say that women-only shortlists are a bad thing, isn't it?
Well, if you have a women-only shortlist in a safe constituency, then effectively you're telling the voters that you will have a woman on this occasion.
But isn't that ultimately a good thing for the country, that the parliament should maybe be balanced a bit more between men and women?
I think choice is a good thing for the country.
I would just worry that if we were to follow your thinking, we would end up with an even more male-dominated parliament. Is that what we want?
Well, what we don't want is people who are in because they're a quota. We want the best people in Parliament, and I think what this is overlooking is that nobody is preventing women going into Parliament. There are no discriminatory provisions or laws that are preventing it happen. Right. The reason that we don't have 50-50 is because men and women make different choices about what they want to do. But
you're not helping by getting rid of women-only shortlists for women make that choice to go into Parliament, are you?
Well, I think that women-only shortlist is a regressive step. There's a principle that you cannot discriminate in favour of one group without discriminating against another. And female-only shortlists is a discrimination against men. Right. It should always be on merit.
We must leave it there. Thank you very much indeed. People can find the full manifesto for Justice for Men and Boys on the web. And we'll say thanks indeed for joining us, standing in the Broxtowe constituency, and full list of candidates standing in the Broxtowe constituency also available on the BBC website. Ray, thank you.